Recognize the gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Joyce, Dr. Joyce, for 5 minutes.
First, I want to thank Chair Johnson and Ranking Member Tonka for holding today's important hearing on EPA's proposed PM 2.5 rule and the witnesses for appearing here today. There is a worrying trend in the EPA of extreme regulations and government overreach. We have seen this trend continue through different administrations, Supreme Court case losses, and congressional oversight. The EPA needs to stop acting like it operates in a vacuum and start to recognize the real-world effects that it has on everyday American families. Sadly, I don't see that happening under the Biden administration. Instead of working with businesses to provide regulatory certainty so they can invest in new economic development, the Biden administration has weaponized the EPA to go after job creators. The EPA's proposed PM 2.5 rule is a great example of this pattern. I appreciate the witnesses, particularly Mr. Hunt from the paper industry, for attending the hearing to inform Congress about what this rule will mean for constituents. My home state of Pennsylvania, and especially in my district, is home to a strong paper industry. Companies like Nittany Paper and American Eagle Paper Products are part of the bedrock of their communities. Pennsylvanians are proud of the steel, glass, aluminum, and coal that our state has produced for generations. Now, thanks to the Marcellus Shale Revolution, Pennsylvania is providing reliable and affordable natural gas to the nation. EPA's predatory regulations like PM 2.5 will put all of these industries at risk, illustrated in the maps behind me right now. This is why the Pennsylvania Chamber of Commerce sent a letter to the EPA in 2019 opposing this rule. Instead of attacking businesses, we need to work with them so that they are able to continue to create the family-sustaining jobs across our nation. My first question is for you, Mr. Hunt. I understand that for the first time in any national ambient air quality standards proceeding, EPA has not even attempted to model costs to fully attain its stringent standards. Instead, EPA only models to partial attainment. Why do you think the EPA was unable to assemble sufficient control options to demonstrate attainment with any of the proposed standards?
One of the reasons is we're at a very different point in our air quality journey. We've made significant reductions in our traditional stationary sources. They represent about 16% of the total emissions. And so as a society, we need to look more holistically at the emissions from wildfires, from road dust, other sources that are not part of our air quality reduction strategies. And so there are not the easy, low-hanging fruit that there has been in the past. The paper industry, for example, has state-of-the-art air pollution controls on our facilities, and so there's very little additional reductions that can be achieved there. Same with other manufacturing sectors. So we really need to be looking at much more different strategies, and that's part of what additional time would provide. EPA could look at other sources, look at it in a way that protects public health, but also protects the productive capacity of our economy.
And I think that is a balancing act that can definitely be attained. Mr. Hunt, how can other agencies or the public provide complete comments on a partial cost estimate? Doesn't EPA's failure to show how these areas can attain suggest that EPA will be setting up states to fail?
It will mean that a lot of our country will be in non-attainment areas for a long time. And for the areas where the forest products industry operates in the cleaner areas, the attainment areas, it's still going to be a major, major struggle for our projects, which as we invest in our facilities to stay globally competitive, also result in reductions in cleaner air. So we're missing opportunities to reduce our emissions by thwarting these modernization projects. So it would definitely hurt.
Mr. Byrd, when areas are found to be in non-attainment, states are required to put together plans that provide a plausible strategy for achieving the emissions reductions, correct?
That is correct.
And if states are unable to submit a plausible plan, what happens? Would an EPA denial of a state plan lead to federal control Or would the transportation sanctions be levied? What would be the follow-up?
Those are the options under the Clean Air Act. EPA could create a federal implementation plan and also impose sanctions requiring the state to put forth more effort. Of course, it is a challenge where the strategies that are available to states are represent a very small portion of the inventory. As I mentioned in my initial testimony, many of the sources are outside of our regulatory control. International sources contribute to air pollution in Utah. Other state and natural sources contribute to air pollution in Utah, but the only authority that we have is to regulate the permitted sources, the manufacturing industries that we actually regulate in the state. So we have a very narrow ability to control the pollution, and it leads to that perpetual non-attainment.
Mr. Chairman, my time has expired. Again, I thank all the witnesses for being here, and I yield.